I just see every challenge as an opportunity to grow. I don't see it as, oh, well, you just, as a man, it's like, oh, you just got to get on with it. There's no point complaining about it. Don't make excuses. Learn from everything. Yeah. So there's, your life, you're in charge of your life, and you got no one else to blame but yourself if you don't succeed in your purpose.
Welcome to Voiceofaroha. I'm Rata, and I'm very, very, very blessed to get to talk to the beautiful Dean today. How are you? How are you going?
I'm going great. It's really great to be here at Wellington Access Radio. Yeah, and it's
What do you think of the place?
Love it. Love the surroundings. Yeah. Nice and peaceful, calming. Yep, great vibe. So yeah, grateful to be here. Yeah.
We always start with, if I were to give you the mic, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Dean Jack Lloyd Parker, and I'm a Nazarite from the Bible. That's my calling from the Almighty. You may have heard of him as Samson, Samuel the prophet, or John the Baptist. And I just here to fulfill my calling on earth, my purpose. Yeah, and that's the adventure. So yeah, that's how I introduce myself.
I would start with maybe, would you like to share, or I could share how we first met last week, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah. You share.
Okay. So a little advertisement for wonderful Orange Sky Wellington. Orange Sky is an amazing charity that operates in Wellington and across the world, found in Australia. Dedicated to providing space for connection and for assistance for communities in Wellington and everywhere who need extra help. We provide laundry services free, Samoan Kiwi Street, where I've been volunteering with Orange Sky for a bit over a year now. And we do free laundry for anyone who wants some free laundry done, and we have games and chats, and it's just a lovely place to connect with people. And that's where I met lovely Dean a couple of weeks ago. So what brought you to Orange Sky's services a couple of Fridays ago?
Well, I've just done 10 years of living on the streets in Melbourne, and Orange Sky in Melbourne was one of the services, one of the first services I connected with. And so to see them in Wellington, I'm like, oh, okay, yep, that's the brand I know. So I'm going to go do my washing there, yeah, and check out Orange Sky here. So it's gone international, and I thought, yep, I just know that's the place to go. Yeah, so, and I was grateful to meet you, and thank you, and just, yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Could you tell us your story from the beginning slightly, if the beginnings are, I don't know, wherever the beginning is?
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm Samoan Kiwi. And I just want to say hi to my family in Samoa, New Zealand, Auckland, and Australia. And thank you for listening. But I grew up in Samoa and New Zealand. My father, Silinga Rodney Parker, a man I respect so much. He taught me everything. He's passed on now. But he raised me, and he was a man's man, and I'm just trying to follow in his footsteps. Yeah, but he taught me being a man is about how much you can sacrifice for others. Yeah, so I'm just trying to live up to his model, yeah, so to speak. And but I've highly intelligent, you could say. Did an accounting degree in Otago on scholarship from Samoa, and came to Wellington, did the corporate thing in banking for Bank of New Zealand, advertising for Wellington newspapers, commercial real estate agent for Roll and CBRE, and then I just got bored of pursuing money, and really wanted to test my mettle, so I figured how to apply my talents and skills for the Almighty and to help people. I figured I'm going to go live on the streets and help build a community. So I chose Melbourne, or you could say the Almighty chose Melbourne for me. I just followed, went there, and just lived hard on the streets, living like a Samoan under bridges, enjoying the cool air on a hot day, with power, and made lots of awesome friends in Melbourne, and just grateful for my community, my homeless community in Melbourne, and you know, and to see them like off the streets and succeeding in their lives is just really awesome, and you know, I'm just so proud of them. Yeah. But you know, 10 years, they're most of the people in my era in our house, so my focus has shifted back home to Samoa, and I'm plan to build some data centers and the supporting power infrastructure through solar farms and a number of other renewable energies to help connect Samoa to the world, and so that we can prosper. I mean, data centers it's like having a hospital. A nation needs it now to move forward and to be part of this modern age. So it's Samoa's time. Everything's in place. So I'm just here waiting on the funding, and I have interested parties, but you know, this is a project for Samoa, so I'm really protective of it. Yeah, and I just want to find the right partner to work with for my people, so that you know, Samoa isn't raped, but instead, you know, profits will be reinvested back into our country and our infrastructure so that we can excel, because I truly believe my people are so they're just number one. Any Samoan knows this, how proud it is to be a Samoan, but I know we have so much to offer the world, and you know, we're just getting started. So I just want to do my part of our nation to help, you know, as every other Samoan does back home, to help build our nation. So it's just time to head back home and do my part to serve Samoa. Yeah. So that would be, in a nutshell, where I'm at now. Yeah.
I'd say it was quite the incredible story when I got to meet you and hear some of that, and your general integrity, wisdom, everything amazed me. And I don't know if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you reminded me a little bit of Iroh, hang around Orange Sky, and then kind of in between when there's nothing to do, doing lifting weights and stuff like that. Just like, you know, no matter thick or thin, like, you know, looking after yourself and you know, seeking the best and what's right and stuff.
I can share on that, because I've got a CrossFit background.
Right.
You know, I was part of Tour CrossFit with my good friend Ryan and Elitza. We set that up with them, and you know, it's body exercise. I really loved it, you know, but you know, like for me, it's to me, you know, gyms are not really me anymore, because like it's a prison for me, you know, where it's like if you make the world your gym, you can work out on a park bench anywhere. And to me, it's like, if you got the energy, use it. And I was bedridden for like 2 years, 3 years. I had chronic fatigue and a number of other things, but I promised myself, you know, when I get my physicality back, that I don't care who's around. If I feel the Spirit of the Almighty on me, I'm just going to train. So, you know, drop down, do press ups, whatever, you know, on the pavement. That, you know, you just learn to not really care what people think, you know, and just be free and do your thing. Yeah.
I feel like it describes some of your indomitable spirit, like in every area of life a little bit. Don't care who's around, just do your thing and follow it.
Well, one of the things that CrossFit really taught me was that it's either what is called the workout of the day. It's when you're working out, you put all or not. It will really show up if you're being lazy or you're not putting all your heart in. So it's either only you will know if the WOD has beaten you, or if you've beaten it, you've given it your all. And so it's kind of like, that's how to live life. You know, it's either you're going to beat life or life is going to beat you.
Gosh,
you know, and that's the game of life. That's the journey of life. And I just love living by your wits and overcoming anything that comes at you. Yeah.
What got you, I'm just trying to look which question to ask. What got you off accountancy and out of the business world and onto the streets and stuff like that? You said the money kind of got old, but can you explain a little bit more about that and kind of that turning point for you?
Yeah, well, I became born again as a believer in Yahusha. You know, you might know him as Jesus, but I call him Yahusha because first of all, J is only like the letter J is only like 600 years old, but his original Hebrew name is Yahusha. So I became a believer, and he was just calling me to give all that up for him. But he said, give it up, but I'll give it back to you in due course. I want to build my ways into you. I want to build integrity into you. I want you to, develop what's known as the fruit of the Holy Spirit, peace, patience, goodness, gentleness, all that kind of stuff. But also, teach you how to overcome anything. And then, and stress, everyone, like, you're either scared of stress, but, stress is an everyday part of life. But the beauty of being like a believer is that you can call upon God and his strength and his wisdom and his courage to overcome anything. And so, I just love that journey in him. It's like following him, it helps me to become the best version of myself. And you're always working at it every day, to learn to have self-control over your emotions. Learning, but also learning when to push back, knowing when it's the right time. It's like, okay, I've absorbed enough of your stuff, so it's now time. What's the strategy or the wisdom now to push back and let my point get through to you so that you can change. So that's kind of like what I love. I just love what we call dying to myself and growing in the Almighty, growing in this. In Christ. It
seems like it's done you very well, but I also imagine there would have been some really, really, really hard times on the streets. What were some of the biggest challenges for you, do you think?
Oh, okay. For me, I just see every challenge as an opportunity to grow. I don't see it as, oh, well, you just, as a man, it's like, oh, you just got to get on with it. There's no point complaining about it. You just got to beat it. You just got to overcome it. So, and I know the Bible promises that anything that comes your way, he will give you the strength to overcome it. So I know, okay, I can overcome this with him. I can't do it on myself. But there's times that, it's lonely, that kind of thing, but your relationship with him kind of like gives you the strength to keep pushing on, and then he gives you relationships with others, healthy relationships, so you don't need to have a lot of friends and be Mr. Popular, which I was in the past. I was a Mr. Popular, but that really didn't fulfill me, so you only need like a couple of people just to believe in you or or support each other, encourage each other to keep you fighting on. Being Samoan, living on the streets, it's like, it was just easy. If I could put it like that, it's just like, it's like, I just loved it. I don't, please, anyone that has pity on me, don't, because it's like, I love the lifestyle. I did it for the lifestyle, and I love the challenges, and I just love, pushing and overcoming everything that's thrown against me. And that develops that indomitable spirit and character. So that you can handle anything in life, anything that life throws at you, you can handle. Otherwise, to me, it's you can't handle something and you're just weak. And it's like you have those weak moments, but after a bit of practice, you just learn. It's like, well, I'm not progressing, I'm not moving forward. You just have to pull your pants up and get to it.
Kind of becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable
Yes.
to grow and all those good things.
Becoming exactly. Just learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, and and I said every challenge is an opportunity, to grow, and learn. Like you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your success. Doesn't matter. You might fail the first time round, but you keep at it, you'll succeed in due course.
How do you see that for this, challenge or problem or opportunity that's presented itself to you for Samoa and in Samoa's future?
Oh, there's going to be challenges galore, but that's why I love it. It's like, for me, I love problem solving. I mean, that's one skill set, you need in life, and, being on the streets taught me just how to face stress and problem solve everything. So, and to me, if you know Yahusha, he's the solution to everything. All you got to do is have that relationship, press him. How do we deal with this situation? And then he will give you the strategy, on the path forward. And that's why I love my relationship with him. It's like, for me, it's like I wanted to be like not a fake Christian. I wanted to be the authentic, real deal, you know. So I just became obsessed, you know, and passionate about accomplishing that. And that was my greatest fear, not being authentic, you know. But it's like, no, you know, he teaches you that, you know, if you trust in him and in due course, yeah, you will enter your promised land. And I know I'm not worried because I know I have the Almighty to help me through whatever's ahead. Yeah, and it's because I've like, I was sharing with a cousin in Samoa. It's like, you know, it's like I've been to the war, been through the war, and now I'm just coming back from the war, and it's going to be easy. You know, what I have ahead of me. You know, if you know what I mean. You know, I know it's going to be, there times be hard, but because I've developed the habits, the disciplines on how to deal with it, I know I'll be able to go through it and not and have no fear of it. You know, but actually grow from it, and help my people. Yeah. Yeah.
You're also, by the sounds, very, very highly skilled in relationships with people, and you've talked to me a little bit about that, and it sounds like that's a really invaluable, you could call it a tool in your skill set to kind of deal with the future. Can you tell me about, I don't know, some meaningful relationships to you and stuff like that, some examples of how the kind of the resources you've got and the wisdom and how that's helped prepare you for what you're about to do?
Yeah, I would have to say, like, the mentors I've had in my life, you know, I'm the product of what they've sown into me, you know, and different stages, seasons in life I've had different, like, to begin with my father, but, you know, and his friends, and then I would have to say my auntie and her husband, yeah, and you know, I'm just going to share, like, so my auntie is married to the former Prime Minister of Samoa, and so I was in Samoa in 2013 to 2015, and, you know, and then he allowed me to have access to his office, and he says, read any book you want, and so I just read all his leadership books. You know, I just devoured all of them, studied them intently, you know, and then just sitting under him and learning from him how he was a leader for our nation, and how he leads the house, how he leads the nation, everything. You know, I just watch and learn, and then after everything I learned and studied, I went and applied it in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and that was the great testing ground to learn how to be a leader. And learn my style of leadership. Yeah. So, and develop your own style, your own way. And I mean, being a leader, there's one thing I've learned. It's like a boss says go, a leader says let's go. That's the single biggest difference, you know. And a leader is about empowering the people to be the best versions of themselves. Yeah. So, but I'd also know that as a man, you got to lead with strength. You can't lead with kindness, because if you lead with kindness, you get walked over. You know, so you got to lead with strength first, and then you can choose kindness, and then people will start to respect you. So, being Samoan, you know, the language of respect and honor is so important, and you need that, you know, as a man, but also as a leader. Yeah. So you need to you have to find your own methods, you know, on that as well. Yeah.
What do you mean by that when you say strength but not kind of leading forward? Yeah.
Well, you have to show that you're not a pushover.
Yep. That you actually mean what you stand for, and that you will. You're going to do it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, because, like, you know, people try and manipulate you, control you, whatever. You know, they try all their stuff on you, but they said, like, no, I'm not scared of you. You know, or that you can stand up to them, or it's like, or you shrug it off. You know, and they see that, okay, this guy's a bit different. But, you know, every leader knows that. You know, it's like, yeah. And then, so you have to show that you're not a lapdog, you know, but you're a lion, you know, and a lion, there's that strength, but you can be kind. Yeah. So it's having that kind of mindset. Yeah.
To those in our audience, also we've got like a lot of rangatahi kind of part of our crew. What kind of leadership advice would you give to young people, or just anyone who wants to kind of become a leader and kind of learn some of that wisdom and strength and all those kinds of things? Find mentors.
Find mentors. Read books about leadership. You know, everything's at your disposal. There's no excuse. Yeah, you got YouTube. You know, you got LinkedIn. You know, there's just so many resources that are free, and you know, don't make excuses. You know, learn from everything. Yeah. So there's, you know, your life. You're in charge of your life, and you got no one else to blame but yourself if you don't succeed in your purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that kind of radical ownership of your life is something that's both like extremely challenging, but then it can also be really empowering, where it's like, no, I can make the life I want, but it's kind of a big psychological hurdle to get over for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's where mentors come in. You know, first of all, they'll teach you how to believe in yourself, you know, and encourage you how to believe. But they'll also, like, they'll discipline you and chastise you, you know, when you're like, oh, you're wrong there. And most people can't handle being told off, or, you know, you've got like a real man can take something on the chin about himself and learn and grow from it. And, you know, rather than get upset and throw your toys out the, you know, sandpit, you know, just take a step back and it's like, yeah, I needed that, you know, and be humble about it, and you'll grow, you know, and you'll be a better person. So just find mentors that you trust, their advice, you know, and have faith, you know, just believe, you know, you're either living in fear or faith. Fear is still faith, but it's faith in the negative. So just have faith in the positive. You know, just believe, and you know that's a principle the Almighty's given. So just apply that. Just believe. Yeah.
I like that point about like fear being faith in the negative, and I think I tend to worry a lot, and I feel like I've kind of thought through a little bit that it's kind of the worrying is the kind of believing in this alternative world where everything goes bad, and it's still you're spending a lot of mental energy kind of spending in this stuff, but it's like, oh, you could just have the same thing but the opposite, and just believe that everything's going to go well instead, and kind of, you know, think with that perspective. You
know, like worry. I mean, we all worry.
Yeah.
You know, that's a part of like the human nature, like a fallen, sinful nature. But, you know, the Bible teaches you, first of all, you give your worries to Him, but also it's to have faith in the positive, you know. So I love applying those principles. And, you know, worry, you know, the analogy of the glass is either half full or half empty. What are you focused on? If it's half empty, you're focused on the negative. If it's half full, you know, that's a lot if you're in a desert. You know, so you've got to learn to like develop new habits or switch your mindset, you know, and that takes practice, you know. So when the worry comes, it's like, no, I don't choose to, you know, I don't choose that thought pattern. I choose to believe in, you know, the positive. Yeah. And then, you know, it's like anything, practice makes perfect. Yeah. And then after a while, you know, like David Goggins, if anyone knows him, you build those calluses in your mind that, you know, you just believe that everything will work out. And it does. If you truly believe, things do work out. You'll land on your feet, you know. Yeah. And carry on. Yeah. I mean, you might have struggles and, you know, suffering, you're going to suffer, but it's like no pain, no gain. You know, you got to see that that's actually good for you. You know, like if you want to build muscles, there's a bit of resistance that's required. You know, it's got a bit of hurt, bit of pain, but your muscle's going to ache, but you're growing, you know. So you just have to keep believing the positive, and you'll come out eventually. So, yeah. And I don't think a lot of the generational people really have taught that. You know, I don't think they have like role models to teach that anymore, you know. And so, yeah, so it's just so easy to, you know, the easiest thing to do in the world is quit, you know, but you just got to learn not to quit and keep pushing. Yeah. And keep believing that you'll come out all good. Yeah.
I had an interesting experience at university a couple of years ago with a friend who was in a course, and she was having a tough time, kind of finding it quite hard, and she was, I think, deciding whether or not she quit her university paper or not. And she approached one lecturer, and the lecturer kind of said, oh, you know, go to look after yourself, mental health first kind of thing, quit the paper and just make sure you're all good. And then she spoke to another lecturer who was kind of like, it's not that hard, you can do it, you know. And she was, and I, at the time, I was kind of like, oh, you know, she asked me what I thought, and I kind of said, oh, you know, look after yourself, don't, you know, break yourself over this uni thing, you know, whatever. But she said that she was really, really thankful to the lecturer who said, no, you can do it, I believe in you, don't give in so easily. And I think that kind of encouragement is, it's an interesting time in our culture, but that kind of encouragement that no, keep going, just because you're feeling hard, you're facing pain and things are feeling a bit hard doesn't mean it's a time to quit. And it's almost an interesting spot where well-being can almost kind of become that negative, and cause you to kind of give up on some things in yourself or in your life, where it's like, no, keep going, keep pushing, and things might turn out well. Yeah.
I think the well-being's at the end.
Yeah.
It's the journey to it.
Yeah.
So I like, as I said before, it's just having those mentors, positive mentors in your life to encourage you, and times that you're not going to have mentors, you've got to learn to self-encourage or self-validate yourself. As you start to stand on your own 2 feet, you don't need the crowd or people to encourage you. You start to learn how to do that yourself. So you become independent of that. But it's nice to have that, but as you mature, it's like no, you know how to encourage your own self, psych yourself up, so to speak. It's like, okay, it's time to be hard, and go for it. So, but as you're growing in it, it's nice to have those mentors. Yeah. Because that's what parents ultimately want. You want to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, face the world. So there's times that in that growth process you have people to help you, but the goal at the end is to have be able to self-encourage and self-validate yourself, so that whatever people say or do, it has no effect on you. Because what really matters is what you think of yourself. And so you start to be free of people's opinions and the fear of that, because all that's just a prison. So you just break free. It's like, who cares what they think? It only matters what you think. And what, to me, only matters what I think, but also more importantly, what matters what the Almighty thinks. If he tells me I've done wrong, it's like, okay, sorry, I repent. Okay, I learn from that. Otherwise it's, once again, it's like, learn the lessons.
I'm slightly mindful of time. I'm thinking, is there anything you would like to share with the audience? Ooh, very good.
Yes. I want to share
He's
my
prepared,
Nazarite poem. This I wrote when I was in Samoa in 2014.
You wrote it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Poet, add that to the everything else,
So it's my mandate from heaven, but I wrote it in a poem form to encourage the army of God, the church of God. Okay, and it's entitled "The Burning Ambition of the Nazarites." Pain is our friend, suffering our lover. Quitting, complacency, compromise, and primarily being lukewarm are our sworn enemies. Determination, persistence, patience, and boldness are our weapons of mass destruction. Persecution, rejection, and insults for our King bring us joy, honor, and delight. Being misunderstood, rejected, and beaten is nothing to his victory on the cross. A Christ-like character and deep relationship with him are our spoils of war to share. No task is too small or obstacle too big to break through to prepare the way. All our victories belong to him and no other, especially us. Our final sacrifice of martyrdom is our finish line and freedom from sin. We thank him for his love that never fails us through our trials. We meditate on nothing else. Then to finish the race he has called us all to. We followed the one man to kick death in the teeth and win with his resurrection. We live to serve and die for our best friend Yahusha and all of mankind. Now, saints, let's honor our forefathers and work as a team to finish this amazing job, the burning ambition of fulfilling the mission of our generation, his second coming. King James Version, Proverbs 28, verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Proverbs 29:19. A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understands, he will not respond. Then there's an image of a soldier with a shield and blindfold and a sword riding a lion. And it's riding the line of Judah against personal sin and evil. And P.S., run for Jesus and run for miles. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
I guess heading to the next chapter for you, what are you most looking forward to? Can you tell us again a little bit about your vision for Samoa?
Yes, so I want to build data centers and the power of infrastructure in Samoa. I've got interested parties, but so I'm just waiting for only the Almighty can provide the funding for that, and I know He's prepared me for this. Kind of like that's why I went through everything I went through, because I knew that He was showing me this is how I want you to help your people, but also help your kingdom. And so I, that's kind of like why I endured through everything. Yeah, and you got the persecution, the misunderstanding, but it's like they don't understand now, they will later. And I'm grateful that, you know, they're understanding now. But you know, I just want Samoa, this is my vision for Samoa to become the Silicon Valley of the Pacific. Yeah. And the Switzerland of the crypto banking.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, you know, and I've got a team in Samoa, Sutena and George, who I'm grateful for, and I've got a team here in New Zealand, Anzac and my cousin Eric. Yeah, and you know, I'm just so grateful I have them, you know, by my side, that we want to do this for our people. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, and I truly believe in the wisdom and intelligence and the strength of our people. And, you know, and I know that the Almighty wants to use Samoa now for the end times. Yeah, and build a sanctuary, you know, it's build a sanctuary in the Pacific, so to speak, with all the problems happening in the world. You know, it's like just build that sanctuary, you know, a Noah's Ark for our people to return to. And I know it's until we sort out our internet and connectivity issues and power, you know, power, they're part of the problems. Then I know I talk to my mates here. You know, they all want to return to Samoa and start businesses, but these things are, you know, it's like going back to the Middle Ages a bit, you know, or just, you know, not so far back, but, you know, it's just such an issue. So just sorting that out, and I know our people will prosper. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I love how much love and dedication and passion and boldness and enthusiasm you have, and it's just so cool seeing how you're bringing all those lessons and wisdom to back home and back to the people you care about and love, and you're doing it with people as well, and, you know, with your whānau.
Yeah. I couldn't do it without them. You know, I know it's like, you know, in Samoa it takes a village to raise a kid, you know, but it takes a village, a nation, you know, to move forward. You know, it's not one person, it takes everyone. That's what I love about Samoa. Anyone in Samoa, everyone is dedicated to, you know, to helping our nation grow. There's such a nationalism spirit back home. Everyone wants to help each other improve their lives. And, you know, I'm just coming, you know, like many years ago in 2003, my uncle, the Prime Minister, Kulepas Manilingoy, Salile Manilingoy, he came over, you know, he had a meeting with the New Zealand Prime Minister and all that, and he was staying at the hotel in Te Kanento, and my auntie rings me up, and I was working at CBRE, which is just a couple of buildings away, and she said, nephew, come over, you know, I'm here. And so, you know, I left my office, walked, you know, 5 minutes, you know, and then I went up to the penthouse, and then first of all, Auntie said, order whatever you want. So I ordered steak. but then I got to talk to my uncle, you know, and my uncle said to me, you know, why haven't you, because I signed a bond, you know, and it means I have to return back and, you know, work for Samoa. And he says, why haven't you returned back to Samoa? You know, it's like, you haven't. And then I just said, Uncle, I'm still learning. And then, you know, it's like, I'm still learning. I'm not ready to return just yet. So that was 2000. You know, now I know I'm ready. I'm 50, and I'm ready to come back now and apply everything I've learned, you know, to help, to do my part now and serve my 4-year bond, which I have to, you know, because as a man of God, you got to be a man, you know, honor. So I'm ready to give my 4 years to, you know, push for help Samoa and beyond. So yeah, at least 4 years. Yeah. But you know, I just feel so ready and prepared by the Almighty. You know, I give Him the glory and the credit. He's the one that's prepared, raised, trained, equipped me for this calling, and purpose. You know, and once you know your purpose in life, you just become unstoppable. You know, and once you learn, you know, how to access His strength to face anything and deal with anything in life, then you know that, you don't have to fear anything. You'll just learn what you need to learn and accomplish what He wants you to accomplish. Yeah. One more question,
Dean. So we've got a tradition at Voice of Aroha that the previous guest writes a question for the next guest. So our previous guest has written you a question which we would love for you to answer. And that question is, How do you want what do you want Wellington to look like in 2125?
Oh, 21, 20. So 100
21.
years.
Yeah, in Wellington. Yeah.
You know, there's a prophecy by a man of God, apostle, called Wigglesworth. And he said in the end times, New Zealand and Wellington was just going to be this unstoppable revival happening. Yeah. And that would just take the gospel to the ends of the world. But just the church was going to be so militant and passionate and zealous, like we're going to become New Zealand. So, you know, so we're going to have the zeal of the Lord of hosts, the zeal of the warriorhood, you know, to fulfill his end time. So I just see his prophecy coming alive, and kind of like everything that the devil has taught you, you're going to turn it on him and go hard against the enemy and become the best versions of yourselves and fulfill your purposes. Unite, like the church uniting together and accomplishing this prophecy that he prophesied in 1920 or something like that. Yeah. So, you know, that's 200 years come that time. So, yeah. So I just see that happening. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that purpose and your story and everything else with us today, Dean. It's been a huge, huge, huge pleasure for me.
Thank you, Rada.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Wellington Access Radio.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. For everyone, I hope you've taken away some of just one nugget of wisdom from Dean's incredible story. And it really means the world to have us, to have you listening and for you to share your story, Dean. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ka kite, everyone.